Good morning and welcome to Coffee with Alain. Here with my awesome, like my daughter mug. Going to be mentioning her a little bit later. Going to talk a little bit about Send Help, the new movie. Saw that the other night. Usually don't go to horror movies, but this was a little different and I really enjoyed it. Also going to acknowledge a couple birthdays today as well. I appreciate everybody that joins and says hello, watches replays, listens to the podcast. Thank you to everybody. You know, I was up early this morning working on the newsletter. It'll go out later tonight. If you're not signed up for that, get on the list. Enjoylifesafely.com. Don't want to miss that stuff. Got a couple good articles on awareness and things to look for, as well as a more motivational type article as well. So those are coming at you later this evening. Let's talk about Send Help. As I mentioned, I usually don't go to many horror movies in the theater. Really not my favorite type of movies. However, I saw good reviews of this and different things about it. And I thought, I'm going to go check it out. And I'm glad I did. I really enjoyed this movie. It's not so much a horror movie, like a slasher, just some of that. This was more of a comedy with a few scary parts and a few very, very bloody parts. So if you're not, okay with very bloody, sort of gory scenes, you might not like this movie because there were a couple in there that were pretty bloody and gory. However, the majority of the movie was actually pretty humorous and funny and sort of quirky. The premise of the movie, if you've seen the previews, you know this. We have an employee. She is extremely smart and great with numbers, but a little bit socially awkward. But she's been promised a promotion and raise by the owner of the company, but unfortunately he dies and his son is taking over, and the son is a big jerk. His plans are to use her for her knowledge and numbers to get a big deal and then fire her and give the promotion to somebody else and the pay raise to somebody else. She learns of that and also sees them making fun of her when they're on a plane to go cinch this big deal, the final thing he's going to use her for. But then the plane crashes. And the only survivors are her and her boss, the new owner of the company, the jerk. And that sets the story, and it's pretty humorous the way things play out and different things and the way things go. Without giving spoilers, it's entertaining. You have to suspend belief, of course. I mean, it's a movie, but I liked it. There were some really funny scenes. Again, there's some pretty gory scenes. And it has a humorous little, wrap up type thing. So I'm glad I went. If you don't mind a little bit of blood and gore and you want a quirky sort of humorous / a little bit horror type, there's a few scary spots movie, you'll probably enjoy it too. And I understand why it's made decent amount of money and has good reviews on Rotten Tomatoes and other places. So I enjoyed Send Help. I would probably watch it again with the wife if she doesn't like horror movies. And I told her it was really bloody, so she's not sure, but I think she would like the rest of it. So when it's streaming, probably watch it again with her. So good movie, fun movie. Going to say hello to a couple people before I acknowledge some birthdays. Thad is here and said good morning. Thank you, Thad. Good morning to you. Hope you're doing well. Dixon said, I was about to send help for you, seeing as how you were a tad late. Technical glitches. I do like Rachel as an actress that usually doesn't do this sort of film genre. Time Traveler's Wife being somewhat different. Well, thank you, Dixon. Yeah, I was a little bit late because I was pulling up a couple of photos that I wanted to share. The first one being this one. There are no ordinary moments. A quote by Dan Millman, one of my favorite authors. Way of the Peaceful Warrior. I read that originally when it first came out way back in the 80s. I've read it a number of times since. I've read all of his books. Several of them back there are autographed. I've had a chance to communicate a little bit with Dan. You know, it was very interesting. I was reading one of his books in law school, and he mentioned a friend of his, a heart surgeon, who lost some fingers and went back to law school, and his name was Craig. And I'm like, okay, how many Craigs have lost their fingers and now are going to law school? They were heart surgeons. It has to be Craig Eddy, the third year law student. I was a first year. And I saw Craig in the hall and said, Craig, you know Dan Millman? He's like, yeah, we're friends. We go way back. And it's sort of interesting. And then I've spoken to Dan, never in person yet. He moved out to New York. He's not in California anymore, but I've only interacted with him through email and a little bit on the phone. But we've discussed Craig, and sadly we did lose Craig a number of years ago. You know, and Dan and I discussed that, you know, briefly as well before. But Dan turns 80 years old today. Want to wish him a happy birthday, and just wanted to share this quote and acknowledge his 80th birthday. Somebody who's put a lot of wisdom out into the world through his books, through his teachings, audio programs, live things, and just wanted to acknowledge his 80th birthday. Another birthday today, 76th birthday of Dr. J. Julius Erving. Here's a picture of him, and the quote here: the key to success is to keep growing in all areas of life, mental, emotional, spiritual, as well as physical. That's some wise wisdom from Dr. J. And an interesting thing is my daughter last Thursday was going to an NBA game, 76ers versus the Hawks. I sent her a short little clip of a recent Dr. J clip. You know, he's elderly now. He turned 76 today. And I told her, if you see this older guy there, that's Dr. J. He was one of my favorite players as a kid growing up. I mean, my two favorites were Pistol Pete Maravich and Julius Erving, Dr. J. Those two were the basketball gods to me, and just fantastic players. So she's at the game. All of a sudden I get a text. They're celebrating his birthday tonight. And then she sent a couple clips of the celebration where they had Julius Erving out on the floor and wished him a happy birthday and rung the Liberty Bell and presented him with a gift. So that was pretty cool that my daughter got to be there while they were celebrating his 76th birthday at the 76ers game. So pretty cool. His actual birthday is today, the 22nd, same as Dan Millman's. So I wanted to wish Julius Erving a happy birthday as well and share that quote of his, because I think that's just a great quote. Thank you, everybody, for joining. Sign up for the newsletter, enjoylifesafely.com. Make it a spectacular Sunday, and I'll be back to see you tomorrow.